Let's uncover some of the most important secrets and skills that will put you on a path to unlocking the C suite God mode. At the end of the day, life is just a game. And the better you know the rules, the more you win. Succeeding in C suite is the same as beating the final boss in the game, because then the world is yours. I'm Vardan, and you are watching the Vardan Ter-Antonyan Show. Let's go.
Welcome to the Vardan Ter-Antonyan Show. We're sitting down with authors, speakers, entrepreneurs, executives, and industry leaders to talk about business, leadership, and strategy. In a world where competition is ruthless, information is power, and decisions move markets, this is where leaders learn how to win. Let's get into it.
People think that if an executive succeeds in one organization, they should succeed in another. If they can lead at 100 people company, they should be able to lead at 1,000. If they can function in a startup, they should be able to run it in an enterprise, and vice versa. This belief is comforting, but unfortunately, it's also deeply misleading. The mistake many executives make is assuming that leadership principles are universal and only tactics need to change. In reality, the job itself changes. An executive who doesn't adjust their mental model to match the organization's size will eventually collide with invisible constraints they do not understand. In small organizations, roughly up to 100 people, power is personal, not institutional. Decisions are made by individuals, not processes. Authority flows directly from proximity to the founder or CEO. Information is informal and immediate. Decision velocity is extremely fast, hence feedback is fast, and trust in relation is relational rather than procedural. In this environment, CXO roles are fluid. Titles matter less than access, and an executive's influence is determined by how close they are to the founder and CEO, how directly they contribute to survival, and how quickly they can solve problems without permission. Executives who thrive in small organizations tend to be highly adaptable, comfortable with ambiguity, willing to operate outside formal boundaries, and fast decision makers also. Um, the work is visceral, and success or failure is visible almost immediately. In this context, leadership is less about governance and more about momentum. The organization values speed over elegance, intuition over analysis, and decisiveness over consensus. Executives who succeed in small organizations often internalize the belief that speed, clarity, and personal authority are universal virtues. They're rewarded for bypassing processes, making unilateral decisions, and moving quickly. I was a CSO at a dietary supplement company that was producing ingestible products, and it didn't have a quality department at all. Did not have any procedures such as batch records and other crucial documentation. Didn't have a solid structure at all, but they were making $20 million per year. This is where the decision velocity is extremely fast. Everyone is wearing four hats, and the CEO is the singular boss everyone reports to. In another example, I was working at a medium-sized organization with VP of operations said that no matter what size we are, we should always act like a startup. That VP was fired within a year because medium-sized companies fail if they are ran like a startup and vice versa. As organizations grow, these same behaviors can become liabilities. What once felt like a leadership now feels like recklessness. What once felt like decisiveness now feels like overreach. What once felt like ownership now feels like disregard for structure. Executives who do not recognize this transition often find themselves frustrated by what they perceive as bureaucracy, politics, or loss of urgency. The organization, meanwhile, perceives them as destabilizing. Neither side is wrong. They're operating under different structural realities. As organizations grow into mid-size, roughly 100 to 1,000 employees, processes emerge not because leaders suddenly love bureaucracy, but because informal systems no longer scale. Information cannot flow through personal relationships alone. Decision making must be delegated and risk must be managed more systematically. This is the most psychologically challenging phase for many executives. Visibility remains high, errors are still personal, and accountability intensifies. In this phase, the work shifts from doing to designing systems that do, from centralized command to decentralized command, from risky heroics to systems and structures. Executives who thrive here learn to translate strategy into repeatable processes, balance speed with consistency, and build teams that can operate without constant oversight. The transition from a small to a mid-size company often triggers an identity crisis for executives who are not used to it. Leaders who were once praised for heroics are now asked to slow down. Executives who solved problems personally are now expected to build systems. Those who relied on trust are now asked to document, standardize, and delegate. This can feel like loss of competence rather than change in role. Executives who fail to make this psychological shift often cling to old behaviors. They insert themselves into decisions that should be delegated. They bypass processes and create dependency rather than capability. Over time, they become bottlenecks. The root cause is misalignment between leadership, style, and organizational size. In small startup type companies, an engineer can make heroic unilateral decisions to push ahead with the process against the scientist's recommendations, and he will be considered a hero if things work out. But in a scaling organization, this will not be tolerated because collaborative decision making is most important. In large organizations, with thousands of employees, multiple layers, and complex governance, power becomes abstract. Authority no longer flows from proximity. It flows from position, budget, control, and narrative legitimacy. Information is mediated through reports, dashboards, and intermediaries. Decisions are slow, not because people are indecisive, but because consequences are amplified. Executives who thrive at this scale understand that most work that happens without them. Influence is indirect. Timing matters more than speed, and precision matters more than passion. Leadership becomes less visible and more symbolic. Just as small company leaders struggle in large organizations, large company executives often fail in smaller ones. Accustomed to structure, process, and delegation, they may hesitate where decisiveness is required. Used to buffering and consensus, they may avoid conflict that needs immediate resolution. Conditioned to manage through systems, they may underestimate the importance of personal presence. In small organizations, abstraction feels like detachment, governance feels like avoidance, strategy without action feels hollow. Executives who do not recalibrate often appear aloof, slow, or ineffective, despite impeccable credentials, and the failure is not about capability, but about context. One of the most profound ways company size alters the CXO role is through time. In small organizations, time horizons are short. Decisions matter immediately, feedback is fast, and the future is uncertain but close. You only think about 3 months, 6 months ahead, not a year, not five, not 10. As organizations grow, time horizons stretch. Decisions may take months or years to reveal their consequences. Feedback loops slow down, and the future becomes more predictable but more distant. Hence, there is a lot of risk associated with mistakes. Executives must adjust how they think about impact. A decision that feels slow in the large organization may be prudent. A decision that feels bold in a small organization may be reckless in a large one. Misjudging time horizons leads to misjudging leadership effectiveness. Larger organizations have more to lose. As size increases, risk tolerance decreases, not because leadership becomes timid, but because consequences are much larger. A small error can cascade across systems, geographies, and stakeholders. This changes how CXOs are evaluated. In small organizations, risk taking is often celebrated. In large organizations, it's scrutinized. Executives who do not adjust their appetite for risk are often labeled reckless, even when their intentions are sound. Understanding this shift is critical for executives moving from startup size to medium size. As organizations grow, governance replaces intuition. What once could be decided in a conversation now requires documentation, approval, and review. This is not an efficiency, it is a response to complexity. Executives who interpret governance as distrust often resist it. Executives who understand governance as risk distribution learn to work with it. At scale, leadership is less about being right and more about being defensible. Many boards think that a great leader is great everywhere. This belief leads to costly mistakes because executives are not universally effective. Their success depends on the alignment between their leadership style and the organization's size, maturity, and risk profile. One of the most important career decisions an aspiring CXO can make is choosing the right size organization for their strengths. Some executives are builders who thrive in chaos, ambiguity, and speed. Others are scalers who excel at system design and operational discipline. Others are governors skilled at managing complexity, risk, and narrative. None of these profiles is superior. They are different. Problems arise when executives accept roles misaligned with their natural strengths, or when organizations hire for credentials rather than fit. When executives are misaligned with the organizational size, everyone suffers. The executive feels constrained or overwhelmed. The organization experiences friction or drift. Performance deteriorates and trust erodes. Eventually, the relationship ends not because either party is incompetent, but because fit was wrong. Recognizing this early saves careers and organizations alike. So, if you have a startup and you want to hire a CEO or a CXO, doesn't matter, hire one who has experience successfully running startups. Okay. The CXOs who have experience in small startups and scaling medium-sized companies are even better because they can carry you through through the company through the scale up. And of course, the ones who have experience running small, medium, and large companies are the best. If you do hire a CXO who only has a startup experience, consider changing them. when it's time to scale up the company, because odds are they will not perform well in the scaled up phase, and vice versa. All the educational episodes of the show can be found in a book I recently published called C-Suite Bible: How Executive Careers Are Won, Lost, and Survived. This book should be all you need to succeed in C-Suite. The book can be purchased on Amazon, and the link can be found in the website www.csuitebible.com. That's CSUITEBIBLE.com. In the next episode, we will discuss how the C-suite character changes with the company life cycle phase, which is one of the most important aspects of successful C-suite career. This is where we, for real, unlock the God mode. Knowing this is crucial to be successful. Thank you for watching the fourth episode of the show. Until next time.